Hello, everybody. How are y'all doing? So good to see you. I think I was living in a time zone warp. That was pretty interesting. It's like that moment you just go, now, wait a minute, where am I? So welcome, everybody. So good to see you. Favor to all of you. Nothing missing, nothing broken be found in our lives this day. And favor be with us all. Thank you for being here. It's a great day, great energy. I'm going to tell you, I don't know about y'all, but for me, it is like, have you ever surfed? Those of you who have, you'll know the first time you actually got to stand up on the board and control it. And the rush, man, you know what that feeling is that momentum on that water, man, just carries you through. I mean, there ain't nothing like it. So anyway, what's up, everybody? That was a little Creedence Clearwater Revival. Yeah, dig those guys. Saw them in Houston, Texas with Bo Diddley. And yeah, that was an out of body experience that later took place, but that is another subject for another time. So happy birthday to everyone who's having one, and sending out one to my lovely wife. It is her birthday today, and so you're having one. Happy birthday to you. So what's up, Soul Tribe? I see David Barry and I see Martin and Heidi, Prophecy Theorist. How you doing? Big Al is on the road with Mr. Perry by his side. Think y'all heading to the big California, huh? Yep. Deborah Sloan, how you doing? Chrissy, good to see you. Gaia, I just got to say thank you for the email. I actually subscribed to and I don't remember her name right off. In fact, I can tell you give me a second here. Pam Gregory. Yeah. How many of y'all are like into her videos? They're pretty cool. They really are. Check them out if you can. Anyway, I did an experiment that because of her videos, and I'm going to show you something, folks. It was quite remarkable. So give me one more second as he comes into view. But thank you, Guy. I appreciate it. Spirit Woman, good to see you. David Castle, much love to you, brother. Lost in Space, how you doing, Elderberry? Hey, Lois, what's up? Good to see you, hon. Susie Q, good to see you. Melanie Rains, hello, how are you doing? Today, our daughter is scheduled to birth our grandson. Okay, amniotic fluid. Please send healing. All right, this is a really good, boy, I'll tell you what, I love it when we follow the guides. So, Melanie, check this out. Everybody else at the same time. Cheers. Ah, love that tea and the chocolate, Rennie. Hey, Scotty boy, what's up? All right. I want everyone in here to pay attention. There are a lot of healers in here, and I'm going to show you how we all of us, can do miracles. All right. So, um, when I was listening, come on now, let me share. There we go. So as I was listening to Pam, she said, about the ability of all of us healing. Now, folks, when we send out healing, we're literally sending out healing. So this is a flare camera. As you can see, it's thermal imaging. And this is my hand. And I am just basically, it would have been ideal if I've had two people, but I was just doing this by myself. So this is my hand, and I'm starting to think about and form in my mind. And I had three people in particular. I had Gilbert Smith, I had Jennifer Roberts, and my wife as well. And so I began to picture each three of their images in my mind, and me literally laying my hands above them. Watch what happens, folks. It is Remarkable. So as you can see in the background where the reds are, so you get into the blues, and that's heat. So watch this. I begin to meditate and focus and look at the tips of my fingers and what's happening to the palms of my hands. There is an energy that's being it's literally ejecting out of my body. And, you know, folks, we live in the laws of nature. The black Lilith moon is coming. And one thing about Lilith, she has taught me, she only obeys the laws of nature, not the laws of man. So here you can see that there is something taking place. Watch this. And now it becomes even more intense. And in here, I am literally picturing each three of them. The one I don't know, so I can only picture the name. The other two I do have mental images of. And look at this. It becomes very intense. And if you look particularly in the palm, and this is where I typically will feel the energy leaving me, and oddly enough, in the tips of my fingers as well. And this is clear evidence of this works, folks. It works. You can do it. You can do it right now. So Melanie, I just see your daughter, and I see basically a beautiful birth. And we would just lay our hands and send out healing thoughts. And this is the remarkable thing about our bodies, is what they will actually do. And this is a great demonstration, Pam. Thank you for that. Gaia, thank you for the recommendation of watching her video. And it was quite remarkable because I happen to have the equipment that this is proof right here. And you can go back. There you go. So we are amazing creatures. We are powerful. We are mighty. And these bodies are remarkable. You know, they may try to program our bodies by the air, the water, the food, the chemicals, but we have the most amazing ability. All things are possible to those who believe. Nothing is impossible. And the great thing about these bodies, they're living. They're not just animation. They're just not being animated by a force. It's really amazing when you think about it. So try it out. B3 said, studied this when I was 12. Hey, there you go. You see? And I'm telling you, this group here, as we work in unity, you can't be at fault finding. If you're looking to find fault, you need to look in first. And once a group comes together where it's the unification of the group in thought, and then begin to put that thought into action through these facilitators, these transmitters. This is what this is. It's an amazing thing we possess. And most people go through a whole lifetime and they waste it because they're never taught. And even if they had a glimpse, you know, the system comes in and says that's hoo-ha, you know, or you have, unfortunately, the hijacking of sometimes doctrine and dogma. But the fact is, each and every one of us are healing vessels. And when we come together, this is what Pam was saying, and it's so true. The worst thing of this pandemic is that it has separated humanity. They have devoided us of, we must have a transference of energy of other living beings. And when you artificially separate human beings where they're not allowed to touch, there is this disconnect. Now, the energy that we see today is the result of, and I contend, the fights you see, the anger, all of this nonsense that's out there is truly because people haven't been able to touch. They haven't been able to gather into groups. And that's what we are. We are a species. We must have interaction with others, and it has to be physical. And when you separate that which has taken place now, we're seeing the results of it. It manifests itself in the other way, where you would have a hug, you now have a slug. Woo! What a mug. And so speaking of that, so we'll just give the my sky pilot a hug, because we don't want to be thugs, and we don't want to throw slugs. And that's what's happening, because you think about it, in the laws of natures, in the seven principles of hermetics, this is number one, the opposite reaction of what you will get when human beings cannot touch one another, when they cannot embrace one another, when they cannot have the ability to share both joy and sadness together. That's what hugs do. Hugs are like the healing chamber, man. I mean, you walk into a hug, and I'm telling you, the energy, if it flows correctly, I mean, it's a healing chamber. You're going to walk away going, wow, yeah, that felt good. Yeah, we're not. I'm just reading in the comments. So I hope the day returns, because we definitely need to get things right. Get back and put the love, take off the glove and let's share the love. There we go. All right. So, uh, pet slugs are hard to hug. Beloved abstracts, I can see that. Yep. Got it. Yep. Uh, Interesting you mentioned horses, Robert V. One of our plans is, horse therapy is amazing. Been a part of it many times in my life, in supporting groups that actually have the horse farms, where people who come from not just physical handicaps, but mental, like Down syndrome, but it works with people who have had broken hearts, who have been deeply hurt along the path of life. Horses will actually aid in that healing process. It's been proven. It's one of the best therapies. Back in one of my lives, I knew the Bushes, who used to own Anheuser-Busch, and one of the granddaughters was very much into equestrian activities, and got very much involved with a nonprofit group, and that's what they did. They had the most gentlest horses, and it was amazing to watch the transformation of both child and adults, and the simple therapy of horse and human. you know yeah, that's true, Gaia. Yep, they do. See, well, there you go, Robert. You got to do a show on that. That is a topic that, you know when you even do the show on, just that healing, even talking about it, sends healing amongst this group. Whoever is hearing this, watching this, it has the same frequency, the same vibration embedded into the signal. So, Spirit Woman, Horse whisper with dogs as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, there we go. We always got to keep the balance. Stan says, well, smallpox came from horses. Well, I wonder what we have given to the animal kingdom. It's like, oh crap, here come the humans, you know? All right. So got a good, interesting little topic. I have found the period right there in 1944, 1945, 1946, and then subsequently what became the technology jump. If you look at what happened at the end of World War II, mankind as a species took an evolutionary jump in mental capacity, blending, I believe, both the spiritual, the super normal, the supernatural, and then into hardcore nature science. And so we're going to talk about kind of a blending here of kind of like what Antarctica. Now, if you think about Antarctica, it is still one of those continents that you and I and the vast 7.8 billion people, of what they now estimate we're at, will never see. A continent we have very little knowledge of. If it wasn't for Google Earth and the ability of what their satellites have taken, we wouldn't know very much about it at all. But there was certainly a play that took part back in the day. And I'm talking specifically about 1943. The Nazis were very much into the Antarctic expeditions by that point. They apparently had stumbled upon something. We don't know. It can be only speculated. So I want to show you something of bringing back some history. This is the actual publication of all hands. This was from the Bureau of Naval Personnel Information Bulletin. This office doesn't even exist anymore, but it's so interesting when you see this. You can see the publication came out January 1947. I would dare say that most of us in this listening to me probably were not alive. Think about it. Uh, But this is what I wanted to show you. It's some great pictures, by the way. If you are really into authentic history, these are the type of publications that kind of really says, hey, there really is something to this. Now, what is interesting about this publication is that this publication dealt with the expeditions to Antarctica, and it's quite amazing. You have I have to get the project name in here, but this is Admiral Byrd's expedition, and of course, there's two stories of how this went. But again, if you're just into great looks back of what it was like, this is a great document to have. These were the ships that were involved. There was quite a large. I wouldn't call it an armada. An armada. Armada. An armada signifies war. I would say that this was a large expedition. I had. You have to remember it was the end of World War One. The Navy had plenty of excess ships. So this was no big deal for them at all. And I want to check something out here because I want to get to what it's, yeah, it was Operation Highjump is what I was thinking of. So anyway, Check this out, because this is the story of what took place. We had never really had any type of military presence at all. By the way, you sports fans, go back in history on this. Actually playing football on the aircraft carrier. Um, Now there's a reason for this. I'm showing you this because this is a capture of a moment in time, ladies and gentlemen. This was my father would have only been 12 years old when these pictures were taken. And you have to understand, culturally, we had become bruised by the war. Whether there was no family that had not paid a sacrifice in one way or the other, losing loved ones, economic sacrifices. I mean, it was amazing when you think about it, that a group of people banded together. I mean, look at us today. We're divided. But this was a time in the midst of the most suffering, when the war had ended, and now things were vastly changing. There was truly an ascension taking place. Humanity was changing, and this is an opportunity for every person to go back and just stop and take a look at these pictures. Look at the cartoons. Look at the mindset, because all of this has a very big deal. Because while all of this was going on, there was something else going on. And that is, and I want to get out of here on this for a second, folks, that there was something going on down in Antarctica. And it was a really big deal. I mean, there are CIA documents that you can go back and actually the CIA didn't exist back then, but basically Army intelligence, that there was something going on. They knew by the documents that they had acquired when Germany fell. And quite frankly, the scientists, the military were shocked. It is a known fact that we are living a different timeline. And it's really interesting because a certain individual does play a pivotal role here. They say we were literally within months of living a different reality. And I want to bring out, and this is so interesting when you get all the way around this. So allow me to pull up something here real quick. Y'all just talk amongst yourselves, have a good time. And I want to make sure I have the right place so we don't have to spend a lot of time. I really do have this. But of course, now that I'm looking to pull it up, I'm like, well, now what the heck? Where, there we are. So this guy, who, the stories are so varied and so give me a second as he pulls this up, because I want to be able to, there we go. So just be patient. It's going to be okay. So check this out. This guy here, this guy is said to have been the wickedest man in the world. This is Aleister Crowley in his 30s. This is a document called Mysteries of the Mind. This is edition 6. And when you read this article, it's wow. This cat, this dude right here, I think he started out, this is just my assessment, as an individual who had good intentions, but somehow or another he met something or something ate him. I'm not sure. But this guy is said to have had more influence on modern society and culture. Now, at the time, he was a virtual nobody. He was known among the elite. He was known amongst the allies. But if it wasn't for Churchill's own personal superstitions, we may have never saw Crowley. But I want to put this out. If reincarnation is in fact real, I contend, ladies and gentlemen, that Aleister Crowley was not who we think he was. I believe he was the incarnated essence of John Dee, the famous master wizard magician of Queen Elizabeth. We're going back to the 1560s, 1580s. This guy, Crowley, when you read his story, it is one that you have to begin to ask yourself, did this lad just merely happen to have this as a natural gifting? Where did he tap into the occult knowledge that wasn't really too prevalent in World War II? People were more interested in surviving and living. So in the caption, as you can see, it says, Aleister Crowley in middle age, having perfected his disturbing hypnotic stare, a few, usually unbalanced women, found them irresistible, have found him, but most found him repulsive. Even as an undergraduate at Trinity College, Cambridge, it was clear that Crowley had mapped out a future for himself that would be pure neither in mind nor in body. As a student, however, he contented himself with writing and printing poetry, including Snowdrops from the Curator's Garden, Sentence Garden, and White Stains. By the way, they were considered to be pornographic back in the day. But the interesting story about this guy is how he became an integral part of what I believe happened was changing literally the course of history. Even if you take this from, let's just say, a more cultural point of view, Crowley could have been probably easily classified as a con man. But here's the problem. He did have a knowledge. He did have, he had an ability. And it is said that he was the counter to what Hitler had going on, the Nazis. They had their own Crowley. And again, if you read this story, it's kind of, it's interesting in the way that the writer is taking the point of view. In one hand, he is mocking Crowley and those who followed him. But on the other hand, they could not deny the impact that both him and I did not realize Crowley's wife. Let me show you her. Yeah, she was quite an amazing woman. Uh, as you can see, more pictures. And the thing that was most people you won't hear, and you'll read it here, is they were really tapped into the sex magic. That's all I got to say. But getting back to the course of history, how does this all then duplicate or come back into what we have today? Talking about where we are, what we perceive to be real. Was Antarctica actually something down there? Did the Nazis make a deal? Is the story of Admiral Byrd true? Are the other stories of early expeditions that they found greenery, they found lakes? Don't know. We'll take a look because something is going on down there, folks. Give me 1 second. Here we go. So let's kind of take a little trip, because I'm saying this because I believe something is about to take place, and it's going to be from Antarctica. I just got the sense, folks, that we're on the brink of insanity. We are literally on the precipice looking into the void. We as a society, as a species. And I just cannot imagine that the true masters of this planet are going to allow this to continue on. They might, because here's the thing. When we study about Antarctica, we look at this. This is the ice sheet, right? If you go back and look at this chronologically, this is impossible, at least on what we would consider normal weather patterns, unless something of a very freakish nature happened. They try to tell us that this is hundreds of thousands of years old, but that's not true. There are those who say that this is actually an artificial barrier. But this is part of Antarctica. We now know that there's volcanoes underneath. They're erupting. No one knows what's going on in the center of the continent because they won't let us in there. You can't go in there. But I often found this picture here interesting because one of the things I do know, and I think this is what the expeditions found out as well, is that Antarctica has a lot of pyramids. A lot of pyramids. It has, there was about a decade ago, I know they still have them, but they weren't up, they were not what we were seeing 10 years ago. There was some crazy, crazy stuff going on in Antarctica. It was just crazy. Things in the sky that weren't making any sense. And the cameras, they were not the artifacting. Something was going on down there. And again, those of us who followed the ISS and the cameras back in the day, we all know that when they got to Antarctica or the North Pole, the Arctic, they were gone. But we do know by the maps that those who have gone before us, they didn't see the ice. They didn't see all of this frozen mile-high ice barriers. They saw a different place. And then if you think about how different countries have now claimed Antarctica, that's just weird. This is what the Nazis found out. There was something that they knew. They encountered something. It is rumored that they were the ones who, in fact, met Agatha. This is the world of underneath, the inner world. If you read the stories, even the CIA documents, naval personnel reported seeing saucers with the swastika on it. We know that the Nazis had acquired the knowledge of what I contend looks to very much to be from the Indus Valley, from India. The Brahmas, they figured it out. I mean, both of those crafts, this one here, that we can actually show you. This is their expedition going down there. This is the actual submarines that went down there. And this is an artist's rendition of what the report said. This is what they say that the expedition, Bird's expedition, actually saw. It's called New Berlin Base 211. You had to have a passport to get into it. Now, this is purportedly one of the 3 saucers that the Allies captured. I don't know. More stories of this. So I look at this guy, and there's Eva Braun, excuse me. And is this really the true face of evil? But I wonder what it is that they say that he never died, or at least was not the suicide with Eva Braun. Then he say he lived out his life in Argentina. These, by the way, are some of the pictures of the expedition vehicles. I think that this is a great representation of what the craft actually looked like, the biggest one. So what did they see? What did they find? This is actually an authentic photo, by the way. But it all comes down to this place. This is Operation Highjump. By the way, now that's a hell of a predicament to be in. Woo! That's when you're going to go, oh boy. But there is something going on down there, folks. There's no doubt about it. Why is it militarized? That's the thing that I don't know. And what is these crafts that they see down there? I mean, folks, this is just one of the pictures that got out. And you can clearly see that this is a saucer. This is a disc, craft of some kind. Yeah. So we got all this military down there, and you have to ask yourself, what's up? By the way, I threw this in here just for those who want to see. So these are the UFO wars back, I guess you could say, as we were coming out of the Dark Ages. And it just wasn't in one country, it was all over. Up in Sweden, Norway, Germany, France, I mean, all of them. So think about this. Folks, this is like, you have to follow. You ever see the series Connected? You start out on a subject and you're going through all these different subjects and you're going, well, how does this tie in? And at the end, it does. So I just want to throw this out. If we are living in a time loop, and many say that something happened, they estimate about the 12th century. And during that period of time, there were new ideas coming forth, revolutionary thoughts. But here's the strange thing. There appears to have been a similar war of a race of beings, I contend, that have the same similarity as we have in the Hindu history. I mean, folks, look at these crafts. I left this one up here because this one here is the strangest one of all. I have no idea what the round cylinder object is, but it looks damn familiar. And I am a fan of SG-1, it looks like a Stargate. And you've got this craft crashing. Now, if you look at the reference of size, you can see the building with the chapel, with the steeple, excuse me, extending up. So we could use that as a point of reference and saying that's most likely 50 feet. That means this Stargate is most likely, if you take that measurement and you go 50, I bet you we could probably get at least 10, maybe 15 within the diameter of this, whatever it is. That would make that diameter nearly 600 feet. And then when you look at the craft that has been brought down, it's huge. And you can see the people that are pointing to it. Again, here is another craft that has been blown out of the sky. Here, in this one, this is Basel, Switzerland, on August 7th, 1566. In Basel, people saw a large number of black spheres filling the skies. Whoa, what was that? This is an interesting picture because the person doing the sketch drawing, there is a battle of enormity taking place. And you can see off to the right, in the lower right, you've got people praying. If you span over to the left, you have people more or less in shock. I bet they were. We would probably be in shock. And here they said something happened to the sun. The sun was sick. And again, you can see the craft that crashed. Actually, in another depiction, there are people dying. But we have a number of crafts that have been obviously damaged in battle. Yeah. And then here's the pyramids. I mean, come on. That's a natural geological formation. How about the one down in the corner in the left bottom? No. So why are the pyramids down there? It just seems that there just seems to be an overabundance of them. Again, something going on. This is dealing more with the ecological damage. This is the base. This is Myrtle Station, I believe, or it could be the Swedes. I pulled a couple of these out of the archives. There you see a UFO directly above them. And again, thank you for Google Earth. We see what appears to be a craft buried into the ice. More of these. These are either openings or something. More pictures captured. Here you can see the individual. This is obviously being taken from above, but I don't know, is that a craft? What's it doing in Antarctica? This is Asgard, the hollow earth. So there we go. So where does all this lead to? Well, allow me to close that out. Thank you. It leads to this. Let me pull this up. Give me 1 second. I'm telling you, there's some strange stuff happening. So there is a document that actually I titled this, and it's really interesting. It's called the Omega Files, and I want to share the summary with you because I ain't got that much time. Where does time go? Time waits on no man. Okay, there we go. All right. So this is a summary of this document right here, by the way. I have certain points out. This is a fascinating read. I just want to tell you right now, this one here will make you go, well, what is going on? So this gentleman, when he writes in the first section of it, we'll just do it very quickly. He said that, number one, the Germans were fleeing and they leave back much material on the Hannibal project, their attempt to rebuild the construction zones in the middle of Germany. The war goes bad. Boom, they can't do it. He brings out a couple of interesting quotations. Various polar expeditions that occurred in between 1947 and 1958 had intelligence as part of their design and also seemed to evoke activity from other forces and entities from inside the Earth. There also seems to be some evidence that the Germans made contact with alien forces from inside the planet in relation to their activities in Antarctica. In 1947, the United States decided that the problem with both the Germans and the aliens was getting a little dangerous. And like I said, you can get the document. It's interesting. So here they summarize Admiral Byrd's Operation Highjump. In a passage, it says, I still have the September 1948 issue of the magazine called Plain Truth, in which the headline article is Hitler alive or dead? Subtitled. Here is summarized the conclusions of an exhaustive 3-year investigation, together with reasons for believing Hitler may be alive and secretly planning the biggest hoax of all history. Another article in November 1949 says the Nazis went underground. May 16, 1943, and the details a meeting at the residence of Krupp von Bohlen-Hollbach, the head of intelligence. Rudolf Hess, this is interesting, and the secret German space race. Germany had developed self-sufficiency before the end of the war and was manufacturing their own oil, produced butter from coal, invented powdered milk, developed freeze drying, learned to store flour indefinitely, were growing their food in greenhouses on chemical soil, etc. These projects were also necessary for survival of the secret UFO force, which Hitler called the last battalion, and at the Antarctica. The counterfeiting of British and American money was under Operation Bernhard. And that's how they were going to basically undermine the Western economy. So, in summary, passage 5, attention. Civil war is about to begin in the United States. You and your loved ones are in acute danger. Race riots and slaughter of Americans will be the first sign. What? Doesn't sound like this is all that old, huh? Incredibly, these Nazi fascists are attempting to set up the Fourth Reich to continue the 1,000-year plan of Adolf Hitler, with its intent to eventually eliminate all non-Aryan people. In January 2000, when the real alien invasion occurs, well, I have to go back and I looked at this and I went, I don't remember an invasion. Now, of course, if we had our memories wiped, would we have known that there was an invasion at all? But then I started thinking about something. What did happen in 2000? Now, I lived this. There was, in fact, an invasion. One that we readily and eagerly adapted to their terms of surrender. It's called the internet. I'm just saying. Now, that's the problem when you start doing predictions, and particularly when you use dates, they're always going to bite you in the ass. However, if you just take this from a different point of view, that was the beginning of what we have today, folks. Restrictions on what you can say and what you can't say. We have certain media platforms that are using algorithms that they admit are designed to psychologically influence. I'll use that word. Yeah. So when I read some of these things, like he came up with the mind control projects out of the Atlantic, I look at this and I'm going, yeah. So back in 2000, I could say, yeah, there was an invasion that took place. And it was alien. And remember, the internet came from ARPANET. ARPANET became the Ethernet. Talked about this one. So anyway, he goes on to say how we now begin to suspect that there is, in fact, something else going on. And getting back to Crowley, apparently Crowley in his final days, whether he was gone over to the deep end or whether he had transcended to the other side and his body was still here, I don't know. But it is said that he conjured something that completely changed the course of Germany's fate. I was trying to look at the right word for that. They had the technology to decimate the Allies. Something happened. What? And that's the interesting story that we get to, is that did the Nazis encounter something that, I don't know, let's say altered their memories, altered their ways of thinking? They had the advantage. I mean, this is like playing chess, and you've got the king, and you've got your rook, you got the queen, you've got both your bishops. I mean, and it's the one single pawn that's trapped the king. This is really what it is. And the way that it completely collapsed tells me that I think the higher echelon were in fact wiped. Just my theory. And the few that thought that they had the deal with whoever was down there, I don't think it was a deal. I think it was a trap. because it certainly didn't work out for them, did it? So anyway, there we go. I'm just reading some of the comments. Brandy, we do live in Babylon. I'm telling you, it is. It's upside down. I had the most interesting email someone wrote me about when under George W., when we went into Iraq, of what they were really looking for. And apparently they, and this is no way, I don't think anyone can ever confirm this. It's interesting possibility, but it is said that what Saddam discovered in the ancient city of Babylon was a device that they say could transport you, much like we think with the Stargate series. And that it became aware because Saddam was trying to sell this on the black market, so to speak. Who knows? But I do believe that they did have an ancient technology in Babylon. And the fact that Saddam Hussein found Babylon, I mean, that, and to me, is just quite amazing. Well, thank you, Susie Q. Vintage nudes. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. I love that, Aphrodite. That's beautiful. So there we go. We just kind of tied it all up because now, and I'm telling you, there is something going on down there. Little history for all of us. I thought it was so interesting that in December 2016, that all the secretaries of state, representatives of all the nations were called down to Antarctica. Remember when Kerry went down there? It was unannounced. And all of a sudden, it broke the news that he was down there along with many other high-ranking officials from other countries. I don't know. Maybe they just had an early Christmas dinner. I don't know. But, when you get heads of states going into a place like Antarctica, I mean, what are you going down there for? I don't know. Maybe they were going to go swimming with the penguins. I don't know. Hey, Peter, I'm right there with you. I want a hot tub machine. Yeah. eBay, slightly used Stargate for sale. I love that. Anyway, well, there we go. But before I leave, think about what I showed you at the beginning of this, what you can do. And folks, I'm going to have Jennifer Roberts on tomorrow. We got the answer. It literally is in the palm of our hands, literally. And I hope that we continue to bond together, to grow together. As they say, we got we got each other's backs. We got our six, because folks, if we do this in a collective, and once people see the proof, do it yourself. Go out there and get yourself a flare camera if you can afford it. But it's true. And if you can imagine what happens when you start in meditation and you start thinking about healing, that's when you need to lay your hands on yourself and say, oh, every organ in my body is renewing and regenerating. And you're laying hands on yourself. That energy, folks, it's transmutable and it's transferable. So, anyway, good enough. Thank you all. This has been fun. So tune in tomorrow. I don't know if Earth Aid Concert. Hey, that's a great handle. That's a great idea. I like that. How you doing, Thor? Good to see you. If you're the gentleman I'm thinking, it's been a long time. Um, all right. Curtis, well, thank you. You know how it is. It's sometimes you just, to stay steady, right? That's what we got to do. Twilight Traveler, thank you. This is a beautiful group. David Berry, much love to you, my friend. David Castle, love to y'all. I'm telling you, let's start practicing this. Let's start practicing this. It works. It does. All right. Much love to you all. I will see y'all tomorrow. Have a great day. I mean, you're alive. You're witnessing events, and you know that alone should give you happy feet. All right, folks, I'll see you later. Travis, greetings from Knoxville. I tell you what, lived there, almost died there. So great to have you, Travis. I love Knoxville. Beautiful, beautiful place of the country. Lost in Space, thank you. And everyone else, Cynthia, everyone have themselves. Nina has her show, 1 hour, the Hump Day Message. So get over there and check her out. Thank you, Miss Lois, Cajun Queen. Love you, dear. And Ginger, thank you. Thank you all. All right, guys.